people. He said, man, you gotta have perseverance, you gotta have heart. You gotta be a game dog, and you gotta be willing to die for it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah,
And, and as I told you, I recall that day as well, there are many people who earn a check, but most people don't understand the difference between earning a check and making money. If you make money, you literally create something that generates money. There's a huge difference. You go to work for corporate America or, you name it. But if someone else is signing your check, you earned a check. If you created yourself, then you made money, and there's a huge difference. And you have to understand that. But you're absolutely right. And I must say, the obedience to the universe I did get from you. Uh, it may have been last year, in fact. But you said it. I filed it away and never forgot. But that I forget the particular circumstance in which you were obedient and reached out to me, but I had the opportunity to return the favor and be obedient to the universe and say to you those words. But again, it goes back to what I was saying in the beginning. That is just me being the voice, the vehicle. I have no idea what I couldn't even begin to tell you what I told you that day,
right.
because oftentimes it's really booked, and this may sound strange to some people, but it's literally like an out of body experience,
Oh, I get it.
because I can't repeat to you what I said, you
Right.
know. And I've thought about this. I've had that experience many times, even when I've given speeches, uh, and people will. I've had the. I don't know if it's fortune is the right word, but I've literally made grown men cry.
No.
Not in a pejorative,
Right. Right.
negative,
I get it.
way, but they were so inspired listening and on the edge of what I was saying. And when I finish, I feel this lifting, if you will, off of me, like you see, everybody's seen the movie Ghost, right?
Right.
And
Right.
Patrick Swayze's character enters Whoopi Goldberg, and
Right.
and then when he leaves, exits her body, then she's weak, but she feels this. Oh, okay, now I got myself back.
Right.
But people are like, man, where did that come from? Where did you pull that from? Because I often, most times, 9 times out of 10, I don't write the speech. I'll make a few notes and then go
Right.
and allow the universe to speak through me. And so my point being, I have no idea what I said. I have no idea what I said to you that day, but obviously it resonated, and it was for you. It was your purpose.
Yeah, I needed that. That was perfect timing. And I think you don't remember what you're saying because it's not ego based, it's spiritually based. You're tapping into
Yeah,
your higher self and you're just being obedient. And so once
yeah,
you're done, you completed your assignment, zap.
yeah.
So
Exactly,
right.
exactly.
So let's kind of touch on that because although we're here to talk about Big Stakes 5, which is coming out tomorrow, dominoes mixed with chips, poker element, nothing like it out there on the market, rolling out tomorrow. We're with CEO Michael Watkins of 1619 Gaming Group. Now, you mentioned, this stage, I'll say this stage is just not about product. It's about spirituality and feeding the people some real content, some real content
Mhm.
that's going to help them. You mentioned something very important that a lot of people are confused about, not the way you versed it, but how to tap into that. And that is earning money versus making money. Is there a
Mhm,
science
mhm.
to that, or is it just simply about being creative?
Yeah, again, great question. I can't say necessarily that it's a science to it. I think it's really just the will. We oftentimes will come up with an idea. My wife, she has invented countless number of
Right,
things,
right,
you know. she's and she takes pride in, I got a new invention. And she'll, pause the TV. Okay, let's listen to what this invention is. And then she will spout it out. And then my daughter and I will evaluate the concept and whatnot. So, but the thing is, the reason I say that happens to all of us all the time. We'll see something, experience something. Why can't we change this? Why can't we do this? Or why can't it be like such? And again, this goes back to lessons early in life that I got from my grandfather, which he told me that resonated and stuck with me. As you enter Grambling from Highway 20, Interstate 20, when you enter the city of Grambling, from the exit to the very first street right there in New Rocky Valley.
Okay.
Very dark. So this was probably back in 1998, 97-ish. And I had a conversation with my grandfather about it. And he said, well, if you want something changed, you have to change it. Okay. See, so it sounds very simple, SD, but not many people are willing to go through the steps that it takes to make that come to fruition.
Right.
So I said, okay. So I wrote a letter to the mayor, wrote a letter to the city council, and explained to them and expressed to them, the significance of having a well-lit entry into the city and whatnot. And so now it's no longer dark like that. Now I'm not saying that wasn't in the works before I wrote that letter or whatnot.
Right.
But the point is, he explained that to me at a young age, and it resonated with me. And so as we as individuals see different things and find opportunities to change a paradigm that may seem so very simple, when people are introduced to the concept of big stakes 5, they're like, why didn't I think of that? Well, you know what? Maybe you did at one point, but you didn't act on it.
Right.
We acted on it.
Right. Right. You said something very important. And I was thinking of this as you were talking, and then you said it. You said it's no longer dark now.
Right.
So to the people, you can't get light without going through darkness. You got to face the darkness, right?
Yes,
You got to face
absolutely.
the darkness. You have to, and that's that lead work. That's that those late nights, self-doubt, doubt from people, maybe in your own household, lack of support. That's the darkness, but most of the darkness comes from self. You
Yes.
plan, your own mind, your own, your own self-doubt. And facing that darkness, you'll get everything you want. The light will be revealed. But like you said, you got to put in the work. You got to put in the work, and that's the thing. Keep working. And so,
absolutely. You have to keep working. And I don't. My wife may find this inappropriate or whatnot, but I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna share this small story with you, and you have to forgive me, SD. I grew up in Eddie Robinson's household, and he is known or was known as having the gift of gab. And I tell everybody, you can't grow up in Eddie Robinson's household and not.
Hey man, you and I are not strangers. Come on.
Okay. And not inherit the gift of gab, but the story is that there was a time, and my wife has been in corporate America for, my wife was in corporate America, quite honestly, when we were at Howard together. So she has remained in corporate America, but what that does to you is it puts you in a line and a mindset of all you have to do is go and apply, and you too can get a job. You know, I'm educated, obviously, and I could work in corporate America and do probably phenomenal things. And so her mindset was, why don't you, you know, because at that time we were experiencing a downtime in the entrepreneurial wave. And so she was, you know, constant in my ear. But when we talk, when you talk about the will and the drive that it takes to be successful and to get ultimately where you want to be, and it may sound, you know, in some, for some people it can be dangerous, because you know, it's like a weapon in the wrong hands. It can in fact be dangerous. But my will and my drive was so steadfast and so determined, and because she was in my ear, I said, I'd rather be homeless than to listen to you constantly telling me about go get this job, go do this, because I at that time was not able to generate any revenue for the household.
Right.
But that takes, it takes uh it takes a fortitude that,
Yes.
you know, not many people, and
Yes.
so that's why I say that's a cautionary tale in a lot of ways,
Right.
because I don't want people to think, okay, just go throw everything away and
Right.
go be homeless until you
Right.
succeed, you
Right.
know,
Right.
because, you know, I was fortunate that she was in corporate America, so I could lean on her
Right.
to get us through. But that doesn't work for everybody. So you know, that story comes with caution as well.
Right. Yeah, I totally understand what you're saying. Yeah, I totally get it. So yeah, that's a great story. But yeah, you have to really dig deep and know what your higher self is telling you. And
Yes.
and so you going that route was not based on ego. There was a fire
No.
in you. Yeah, that was a fire in you. Just would not let you go the corporate route.
Mhm,
So,
mhm.
some people don't go that route out of ego, laziness, or whatever it is. It's out of ego, but it's not their higher self. So that's
Right.
what. So I wanna say that any decision you make, make sure it's tapped into your higher self, rooted in righteousness, and not out of ego. If it's rooted in
Absolutely.
ego, it ain't gonna work, man. It ain't gonna work. So yeah, yeah. Um, Now I was fortunate enough to get the beta version of Big Stakes 5 a while ago. Man, maybe 4 months ago, I think. Yeah,
Mhm, mhm.
four or five
But
months
yeah,
ago.
yep.
Now I'll be transparent. I play the spades game on my phone, man, maybe too much, actually, man. I spent too much time, but it's a way of meditating for me also. So
Right,
while I'm
right.
playing, I'm also thinking and strategizing. And I had to tell my wife that I said, "You think I'm playing this game on my phone? Like it's more than that. It's a way for me to relax, and I'm
Yeah.
I'm thinking, I'm strategizing." So now I tried to get into certain domino games online. It just didn't do it for me. It didn't
Mhm,
do it
mhm.
for me. Now I got a hold of the beta version of Big Stakes 5. Man, I was bought in. I bought in right away when I saw the uniqueness of it. I was like, okay, this is what the game needed. This is what the game needed. It has a poker element, a gambling element to it, and I like the layout. I like the visuals.
Yeah, yeah.
It's obvious. It's evident that you guys put a lot of work into it and had some really talented people working on this project. And let me
Right,
see if I
right.
can do a let me see if I can do a split screen, a share screen right here, man.
Okay, okay.
Let me see. See, there it goes. So can you still see me?
I can see you. Yeah, I see your screen on the Zoom.
Okay. So let's see. I guess I removed it. Let me see something here.
Well, I saw the Big Stakes 5 tab on the web. Look like on your browser. It was on your Zoom browser, the same one that.
Oh, okay, okay. Let me see. Maybe I'm over. This is my first time doing the share screen. So can you see that screen?
Yep, sure can.
Okay. So yeah, guys, people, this is the website. I mean, the graphics is phenomenal. Man, it's phenomenal. I've been checking this out. You got the you got the team here. There's my man Michael Watkins, CEO. So you got a diverse group here. Yeah.
Yeah, and I tell you what, you know, we talked about the team earlier, and for example, you know, Chris Leon, for example, he's a young student, 21-year-old at UCLA, but you know, he's been in the social media space since he was, you know, almost 13. But you know, I believe in having best in class, you know, in terms of the team. And you know, you've heard the saying, look, if you're the smartest person in the room, you got the wrong team.
Yeah, you got a problem.
Yeah. So if you scroll back to hit that left button, Olivier is the CTO. Then you know he's been in the space now. Just scroll a little bit more, one more time. Yeah, there you go. So Olivier has been in the space now for IT about 20 years, a little over 20 years. Microsoft expert, Azure cloud, but you know, and now he's at JP Morgan, senior level IT exec. But you know, when you hear him talk about all that goes on behind the scenes to make an app, you know, and again, this goes back to creation, if you will, because we play different apps. You know, you play spades, you play now Big Stakes 5, you probably played other games as well. What we see as the general public is so tip of the iceberg of what really goes on behind the scenes in terms of all of the infrastructure that made that possible. And I tell you, we would not be anywhere near where we are today without the likes of Olivier. And then, of course, Neil. Neil and I have been together now almost 20 years. And, you know, he's a former NFL agent. Man, that brother knows his stuff. And when you talk about you want somebody in your foxhole with you to go to war, you don't get no better than Neil Allen. So you know that's the whole idea, is to put together the team. You know, what we don't show represented here is the legal team, for example, from intellectual property to corporate law, contest rules, you know, the corporate infrastructure, the accounting, you know, Gary Johnson, CPA, and his team. And because one of the things that I knew, you know, you alluded to it before, as a Black led firm, we're going to be and will be constantly under scrutiny like no other. Where did these people come from? You know, how did they do it? And so it was critical that I put together a team. And again, going back to grandpa's, knowing how to put the team together, you know. And the great thing about our team at 1619 is no one person is trying to be the other person. You know, I'm not trying to be Neil, he's not trying to be me. we dare not ever try to be Olivia, and we just don't know how to be Chris, on the social media side. But the point is, you put that team together that keeps you out of hot water and above reproach, where no one can say, hey, did they pay their taxes, or did they file this report with the state, or do they have the appropriate legal disclaimers within the game, all these different things that it takes that people don't even begin to think about. And I'm fortunate, again, as that communications, and when I was in the Air Force, I was command and control. And command and control means my job was to be in charge of the air war, the entire air war. And so you learn how to see the big picture and communicate where it needs to be communicated so that the mission doesn't lack or fail in any one given area. And so, I bring that as leader of this team, but still having a team that, keeps my ass out of hot water.
No
for
doubt,
sure.
no doubt. And that goes back to being self-aware, having self-awareness and knowing I can't do it all by myself, formulating the right team, with the right personalities. And you mentioned the scrutiny that you knew you would be under and that people that look like us are under when we do something this big, right? Or anytime we reach out to the public and say, buy into me, I have a product. And so this is why I didn't want to just jump into talking about Big Stakes 5, right? I wanted to dive into going back into your history to show the people, no, this guy is the real deal, right? He has credibility. He's to be respected. He knows what he's doing, knows what he's talking about, and he's an entrepreneur by blood, right? It's just not something he decided to jump into one day. So you're right. That's why we're diving deeper, opposed to just focusing on Big Stakes 5, right? So
absolutely.
So
We sorry. Yeah, I was gonna say we literally started this process. I mentioned Neil's 50th birthday party. That was the impetus of what is now Big Stakes 5. What started out as a base domino tournament for $1 million, and it turned into Big Stakes 5. But it took 5 years, for example, just to get the first patent. Because as you can imagine, we're taking a game, the foundation of a game that was invented in the 10th century, and going to the US Patent Office saying, we have done something new. And they're like, no, you have not. And so it took 5 years, again, but this goes back to your will and your determination to fight. We went tooth and nail with USPTO before and 5 years later, they finally succumbed and gave us the patent, the first patent. We ultimately got a second patent 2 years after that. And now our IP team is working on even more patents. But my point is, that goes to, the will and the process. But I like to tell the joke that we're like the music guys. I remember Alexander O'Neal, one of my favorite singers, favorite artists, and he's like, it took me 20 years to become an overnight sensation, right? And Big Stakes 5 would be the same way. It took us 12 years to be, hopefully, if we are fortunate to become an overnight sensation. But yeah, it will have taken 12 years to become an overnight sensation.
Right. Now, for the people that are not so business savvy or know the jargon, IP team is intellectual property. And so I'll dive in at another video about intellectual property and how important it is in another video. But I know we can get caught up using jargon. Like, what's IP? Yeah, internet protocol? No. So intellectual property team. And so that's a whole different conversation. But once again, guys, we got CEO Michael Watkins here. He's the CEO of 1619 Gaming Group, coming out with his new project tomorrow that's been in the works for 5 years, Big Stakes 5. Now, let's dive into that, Mike. How would you explain the uniqueness or the game, the infrastructure of Big Stakes 5? What is Big Stakes 5?
Big Stakes 5 is a supercharged domino game at its core. It's a supercharged domino game. It's very offensive minded in terms of the approach, because unlike the traditional domino game that you may play a number of games where the winner ultimately has to score 150 points total, in Big Stakes 5, each hand, each wash, if you will, is its own game. And all you're saying is, on this particular hand or this particular wash, I'm going to score more points than anybody else. And I'll tell you how that came to be. When we first started looking at the domino tournament that we were going to do in Las Vegas for $1 million, the idea was, okay, how do we make this sexy for TV, right? And so we're playing a couple of games, and I'm not scoring a lot. So I'm sitting here looking at basically 15 points. Now there's no at that point. No, have we? Well, okay. Well, let me back that up. So the first thought was, how do you keep score? In the traditional game, you use pen and paper to keep score, and you, as you alluded to earlier, you pencil whipping.
Right.
So in Big Stakes 5, you use chips to keep score, and each chip is 5 points. Everybody has their own color, so you can't just slip some chips on your side and be like, oh no, I scored. No, because if your chips didn't come from the appropriate person, okay, basically you chip whipping, I guess,
Right.
right? So that was the whole impetus. But then, as I'm sitting, we played a few hands, and I'm sitting there with just, I think I had 15 points worth of chips. And I'm like, how am I ever gonna catch up? My wife's sitting here, she's got like 40, Neil's got 60, and maybe my daughter, I don't know who was playing with us, had maybe 35. I'm like, man, it's gonna be hard for me to catch up. So I said, yeah, I tell you what, I'm gonna take these. All I got is these 15 chips, or the three. Each chip is worth 5 points, and I'll say I'm gonna put my 15 points that I'm gonna score more points than anybody else on this next hand. So Stacy's like, okay, I'll take that. She puts up her 3 chips. Neil puts up his 3 chips. My daughter puts up her 3 chips. I score more points than anybody. We play the next hand. I score more points. I get everybody's 3 chips. Now I'm +9. I'm back in the game. So we're like, whoo, okay, that works, And so when we took that to Vegas, they were like, do you guys know what you have here? Now, we really didn't.
Right.
But we acted like we did.
Got to. Hey,
we
poker
acted
face.
like we did.
Poker face.
Yeah, you better believe it. We must have something, right? So what those chips turned into is, at home with friends and family, the chips are like Monopoly money. No big deal. You play Monopoly, it's, everybody gets their money and whatnot, just like Monopoly money. But online and in a casino environment, that money is real, dollar for dollar, for example. So to answer your question, that's what Big Stakes 5 is. It's a supercharged domino game that uses chips to keep score, and then allows you to risk a given amount of money, whether it's virtual or real, on each hand. And by whatever measure you need to score more points, then that's how you win the game, by scoring more points than your opponent. Now, I mentioned that, how do you make it sexy for TV? Because, as you mentioned, you're a spades player, right? Well, this is where the 5 comes in terms of Big Stakes 5.